She was just a janitor with a worn wheelchair, quietly rolling through the sterile corridors of the corporate skyscraper every morning, unnoticed and unremarkable. At 35 years old, with her short cropped hair tucked beneath a faded baseball cap, she pushed her bucket and mop with steady hands that had once gripped weapons, not cleaning supplies. The blue wheelchair bore a small but distinct patch, a crimson cobra coiled around a dagger, something the casual eye would pass over. But to the trained military observer, it was a mark of the elite. They laughed at that wheelchair, never realizing who they were mocking. The CEO, a man with a pruned face and cheap cologne, decided that the janitor was more of a liability than a help. Tripping over her every command and occasionally forgetting names, she was getting in the way. So, without ceremony, he fired her. No warnings, no regard for the years she'd silently endured the disdain of the office in her quiet corner. 8 minutes later, Black Hawks landed on the roof. It started as a normal, dull Monday. At exactly 8:30, she wheeled past glass front offices, the reflections a mirror of disregard. Her hands, scarred and steady, pushed the machine, a mop dripping with bleach water as she went about her routine cleaning of the executive restrooms and conference rooms that bankers, lawyers, and CEO types rarely glanced at. Her name was Lisa Monroe, but to anyone there she was just the janitor. Nobody knew the story behind the letters tattooed in black ink along the inside of her forearms. SEAL Team 6. The Cobra patch wasn't decoration. It was her call sign from her last covert mission, one that saved 23 American lives 5 years ago in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan. Her wheelchair was the result of a roadside IED 5 years back, a device meant to kill soldiers, but instead it nearly broke her body and forged her spirit. Today, she was invisible, but not for long. The CEO's assistant, a smug man named Carl, had watched her struggle to reach the vending machine for coffee, her hands shaking slightly as she pushed the cup back down. Behind his dark-rimmed glasses, he whispered to the CEO. Minutes later, the CEO arrived, glaring down on her like she was an obstacle in his carefully manicured empire. "You're fired," he said abruptly, without meeting her eyes. "We don't need dead weight." She looked up, her eyes calm and steady, but the coldness cut deep. Around them, some employees stopped, whispering, watching the exchange, half curious, half amused. Lisa didn't argue or cry. She packed up the few things she had, folded the mop handle, and wheeled toward the exit. But as she moved away, a group of young interns at the coffee bar began laughing, their voices sharp and cruel. "Look at her chair," one sneered. "Bet she couldn't take a bullet if her life depended on it." Another mocked the patches sewn onto her jacket as pointless decorations. No one defended her. They didn't know who she really was. What happened next shattered their misconceptions. A subtle click sounded on the rooftop as heavy blades sliced the air. Not one, but 4 Black Hawk helicopters descending with surgical precision. Doors slid open, and 8 Navy SEALs in full battle dress emerged, their faces hard beneath helmets, eyes scanning the building with furious intent. In the lobby, the CEO's smirk faded as the automatic doors flew open, and the SEALs moved in like a silent storm. The CFO froze mid-step, his coffee shaking in his hand. Lisa turned slowly, watching with a quiet satisfaction as the men approached her, their leader kneeling to meet her eye level. His comm badge read Lieutenant Commander Mason, and as he looked at her arm, the Cobra patch, and the wheelchair, recognition dawned. His face went pale but said nothing. "You mocked a ghost and she let you go," Mason said quietly to the stunned executives. "She saved this nation's bravest, 23 lives, because she was ready to die for them. And tonight, this company is under our protection." The CEO stammered, but no words escaped before the firm grip of the SEAL team's presence filled the room. Lisa, once invisible and dismissed, was now the center of a storm, the calm eye in a hurricane of justice. Her past, a secret kept to herself for years, was about to unravel in a way none of them could have imagined. Because the Cobra was more than a patch, it was a symbol of vengeance, resilience, and a fight that wasn't over yet. And the Black Hawks weren't here for her, at least not alone. The lobby fell utterly silent as the SEALs spread out in perfect formation, their black uniforms absorbing the sterile office light like shadows come to life. Lisa's eyes flicked from the grim-faced men to the stunned executives clutching their phones, nursing their sudden fear. Lieutenant Commander Mason stood and cleared his throat, voice steady, but edged with unmistakable authority. "This building is now secured," he announced. The CEO's mouth opened, then closed, his usual arrogance swallowed by disbelief. Mason's gaze fixed on him like a predator locking on prey. "You fired a decorated Master Chief, a veteran of SEAL Team 6. Not just any veteran. Lisa Monroe saved 23 soldiers 5 years ago in a night operation high in the Hindu Kush Mountains, an event classified until today. She took 3 direct hits from an IED, wounds that should have killed her, but instead forged her into the warrior you so carelessly dismissed." The CEO swallowed hard, sweat now beading on his brow. The SEALs formed a protective circle around Lisa, who remained still in her wheelchair, calm and resolute. Mason motioned to the woman beside Lisa, a sharp-eyed Lieutenant Navarro, who stepped forward with a small, weathered photo. "This is from the mission. Ember 2, Lisa Monroe, was the point of contact for extraction, shielding her team from heavy enemy fire, coordinating air support while wounded. She refused to leave until every last soldier was safely out." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as the picture displayed a much younger Lisa, fierce and unyielding beneath her tactical helmet. Her wheelchair was now not a symbol of limitation, but one of sacrifice and survival. An intern whispered, "She saved all those lives, and we mocked her." Mason's voice cut through the shame like steel. "You mocked a ghost and she let you go. Now this place is under our protection. Any further disrespect, any threat to her or this team, will be met with consequences you won't survive the paperwork for." The CEO stammered for an excuse, but the smirk was gone, replaced by a pale mask of dread. Suddenly, the emergency exits opened, and a battalion of people in suits and military dress burst inside. Colonels, generals, and officers from the Pentagon themselves, summoned swiftly after hearing of the SEAL presence. A general in his late 50s, with silver-streaked hair and a posture that commanded respect, approached. He paused before Lisa, then saluted, breaking protocol with a slight nod of admiration. "Master Chief Monroe, it is an honor," he said quietly, voice heavy with gratitude. The room held its breath. This was no longer a corporate office but a tribunal of justice. Lisa finally spoke, voice calm but imbued with a quiet power. "I chose to stay silent for years because I believed respect should be earned, not demanded. But some battles require standing, and some soldiers never quit fighting." At that moment, her patch with the crimson cobra shimmered under the harsh fluorescent light, no longer a relic, but a badge of immeasurable valor. The CEO was escorted out under tight security, the humiliation he had tried to heap upon Lisa now returning full force, his reputation in ruins. Carl, the assistant who whispered disdainfully about the coffee spill, was suspended pending investigation. The interns were reminded sharply by Mason that ignorance was no excuse for cruelty, especially when lives were on the line. Outside, news helicopters hovered as official statements began streaming live. Channels around the country broadcasted the unprecedented story of the disabled janitor, who was actually a decorated Navy SEAL, rescued from disgrace by her own brothers-in-arms. Lisa's story ignited a wave of respect for veterans and the disabled, proving that heroism doesn't wear a uniform or stand upright, but persists in spirit and sacrifice. In the days that followed, Lisa was offered a commendation ceremony with full honors, her life transformed from invisible to inspirational. The wheelchair, once a symbol of limitation, became a powerful emblem worn beside her medals, a testament to courage, resilience, and relentless dedication. Her colleagues, some ashamed, some in awe, began looking at her with a newfound reverence, seeing not the janitor, but a warrior who had silently saved them all in ways they could never comprehend. Lisa's voice was heard next at conferences advocating for veterans' rights, her story a call to end prejudice against disabilities and ensure every soldier's sacrifice is honored. The CEO's empire crumbled, replaced by new leadership who understood the weight of respect, humility, and true strength. The final scene closes with Lisa, wheels rolling steady through a sunlit hallway, her eyes focused, carrying not just a mop this time, but the unspoken gratitude of a nation that had finally seen her. And as the camera pulls back, the sound of distant helicopter blades receding, we remember her words. "You mocked a ghost. I let you go. But remember this, ghosts never forget."